Okay, now it's time to install the reinforcement rings inside of the shell. I clamp them in there with the bending blocks around it. And this is the part where you're going to need all the clamps that you have at your disposal. So I'll be back when this is finished. As you can see, I like to start on the opposite side of the scarf joint and work my way this way a bit, then this way a bit, just so it's all even, and clamp them loosely, fill in all the gaps, and then go around starting at the bottom, tightening all the way up to the top where these scarf joints are. And then once this is dried, we'll clean that off on a spindle sander. Alright, I'm just gonna clean up some of the squeeze out on either side on the disc sander, and then clean up these scarf joints on the spindle sander. So this is how I mark it out. Now we have the shell on my lathe on this Longworth chuck that I made, and we're gonna spin it up and clean up these reinforcement rings inside and the outside diameter a little bit, just a rough sanding. So I like to do this throughout the whole process, but this is a really good time to get the best idea. Go throughout the shell. This is just a drumstick with the cymbal felt on it, and make sure that all the way around it's the same tone. Sounds perfect to me. I like to route the reinforcement rings when it is just rough sanded. This is what they look like afterwards. I like to leave just about a millimeter for it to get honed in when I'm finished sanding it on the lathe. Alright, now we're just going to go through all the grits of sandpaper and get this boy nice and shiny. I have this shell now laid out on both sides to be hand filed for the snare beds. So let's get that done. After filing, I like to go through with a sanding block and a few different ascending grits of sandpaper and sand down the snare beds just to make sure that they're nice and smooth and at an even grit with the rest of the shell. I know it might not be the easiest thing to make out, but I put the drum back on a flat block and go around with a ruler and just make sure the snare beds are totally even. I'll flip this over. You can see on this side that it is also even. All right, I'm gonna do one final sanding and buffing here on the lathe just to finish that up. Now we just sign and date the inside. So this is the finished shell. If it were being built out, it would require some hole drilling, staining, and spray lacquering, but this will just be sold as a bare shell. Each one takes about anywhere from 8 to 14 hours of handwork put into it. This is just a separate shell that I'm laying out for hardware. So I've already got all the lines scribed on, and I used a center punch to get the holes started for the drill press. And this is just what that looks like. Now we're at the drill press where we'll be drilling holes for the hardware. And right here I have a convex block to hold on to the back of this just to make sure there's no blowout while I'm drilling the holes. All right, we're gonna put the first coat of oil on this guy. We should do 3 to 5 coats. Now we're just gonna coat this in a couple layers of spray lacquer, sanding in between, just to make sure that it is sealed and protected. One last time around on the lathe just to buff the lacquer.